So yeah, certainly not the video I wanted to be making. Let's take a listen.
Flashback.
Sounds really weird. No good. No bueno.
End of flashback.
So yeah, if you can tell, compression sounds a little uneven. Last run at the track didn't quite go as planned. Yeah. So, not quite sure what happened. Did diagnose it at the track a little bit. I didn't record a lot of that because I was panicking. Was quite worried, so I just really didn't spend a whole lot of time recording anything. Carlos helped me out, diagnosed a lot of things before I pulled this valve cover off. So what we know, it's not a cracked piston. What we think it possibly is, though, is a burnt valve, a bent valve, a broken retainer, or the keepers popped out. When we pulled the valve cover off, we saw that one of the exhaust lifters was staying in the down position as you rotated the cam. It wasn't popping back up. So yeah, that valve is stuck open. So it's possible that the valve was melted, and as exhaust gas flew out the valve, it took a little bit of slag with it, and made a lip, made it so that the valve couldn't close. It could have just bent the valve. Car has been riding the traction control pretty aggressively as I was trying to figure out how to get the car to launch. Turns out the reason why I couldn't get the car to launch is because the clutch is actually slipping. I put a wheel speed sensor on the front wheel so I could actually compare wheel speed to engine RPM, and when the RPM is at like 6,000 RPM. It should be doing like 25, 30 miles an hour, and I'm logging like 5 mile an hour wheel speed. So yeah, that's definitely clutch slip. Same thing on the top end, like the video, I don't know, a month ago, whatever, 2 months ago, where there was those two big, huge spikes in RPM suddenly. I was like, I don't know if it's spinning, I don't know if it's clutch slip. It's clutch slip. Did it again, was able to log it, compare it to the front wheel speed versus the RPM, and it's definitely clutch slip. So yeah. So either, like I said, either I burnt or bent a valve due to very aggressive ignition cut, or the other thing I noticed was in my logs, losing some RPM sync. So it was on one or two of the logs I saw like 60 mile an hour wheel speed in first gear, which is impossible unless I'm revving the car to like 9,500 RPM, which the rev limiter is set for 85. But there's like this really steep little drop where it loses RPM sync, and loses cam sync, but the wheel speed is super high. So the only way that would be possible is if the car is blasting past the rev limiter, and way over spinning. So the car has Volvo valve springs, but they are stock valves, stock retainers, stock keepers. So probably shouldn't be revving it to 8,000, 8,500. Most certainly shouldn't be revving it to like 9,000 and above. So if it did go to 9,000, that would definitely tool up a valve pretty easily. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the valve cover, pull the cam out, and take a look at under the bucket, see if the keepers popped out and it just dropped, and see if it just dropped the valve. It didn't drop it completely, because if the keepers shimmied up, the valve could have dropped slightly, and then the keepers could have slid back in and caught the second ridge, and kept the valve in place, which is why it didn't blow up, and it's a non-interference engine, so as long as it's not too far down. There is some knocking kind of sound, so the piston might have kissed the valve. I don't know. We shall see. So we'll start there. Best case scenario is a keeper popped out, valve slipped down, because then that's just put the valve back in. Hopefully it's not too damaged and it runs. Second best scenario is it's just a burnt or bent valve, because then I just replaced the valve, assuming it didn't destroy the seat and the head. But yeah, just popping a new valve in and hand lapping it. Not ideal to do it just to one, but at this point I'm not rebuilding the whole head again, because I just did that. The scenario is the valve completely fell out. I mean, the engine ran. You heard it ran. It runs fine, other than being very low on compression on cylinder number one. Worst case is the valve is severely damaged, and the seat is damaged, and the guide is damaged or something like that, and the head needs to be like redone again. Yep, so definitely gonna have to pull the head. Retainers are where it should be, so it's either a bent valve or a burnt valve or something stuck in the valve. So yepers. Yeah. Alright. So yeah, looks like we've got a valve seat that's working its way out of the head. Not quite sure what caused that. Judging by how dark this cylinder is and the color of the valves versus the other ones, I mean, it's very minor difference, but you can kind of tell that these are darker than these. That valve's probably been leaking for a while. That cylinder has probably been low compression for quite some time. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be any real damage to anything. The block looks fine. Head gasket was sealing. Great, so no lifting of the head or anything. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead, finish stripping this head down. get all the valves and all that crap out, get it sorted, so that I can get it to the machine shop and get a new seat put in there. It's annoying, but overall, things could be a lot worse. So yeah, we're going to get her pulled apart, and yeah. Alright guys, this is a couple of weeks, month, I don't know how long it's been. I guess I don't know. Anyways, last clip or last video or whatever, discovered the head had dropped the valve seat. Obviously, car still apart. Engine on the engine stand now. Garage a complete and total freaking disaster. But the head is back from the machine shop. So I guess a shout out to Advanced Cylinder Head for actually getting this back really quickly. Dropped it off. I had it back in less than a week. And this was like 2 weeks before sick week. So to say they were busy was a bit of an understatement. So for them to be able to knock this out as quickly as they did, thanks. So, as you can see, they replaced that valve and seat. It is not a factory BP4W valve, but, you know, it's a valve that fits and should perform similarly, hopefully. A little weird, but the seat's been replaced. They went ahead and, what do you call it, vapor honed the whole head, so it basically looks like it's brand freaking new. It is pretty gorgeous. Everything is super clean inside and out. Yeah, they decked the head and then also cleaned up all the edges and everything, like all the edges everywhere, not just the part that they cleaned up. So it looks good to go. So yeah, like I said, they decked the head, they did a full valve job on it. Even though it just had a valve job, they were like, since it was in there, went ahead and just did the valve job again, a new valve job, so performance valve job, whatever that means. I'm assuming that's a CNC 3-angle valve job. Yeah, so at this point we're ready to put the head back on the block and hopefully be back together in a couple of days. I mean, technically I should have this back together in a day, but you know, I've been kind of lazy. I don't really grind at it like I used to. So anyways, the other thing I noticed when I had it apart was you can see how black and sooty it is in there. Main seal was leaking. It wasn't like leaking, but it was leaking enough to probably cause the clutch to slip. So I went ahead, new main seal, installed it correctly this time, because last time I did not install it correctly. Went ahead, got the pressure plate surfaced, took a little bit extra off the ears to off these guys to bring the clamping force up a little bit, which is okay if you know what you're doing. So a lot of places don't want to do that. They don't. The factory spec for the BP flywheel is what is it? It's 20 millimeters, but it's actually 20 millimeters plus or minus like 5, I think. Maybe it's 3, plus or minus 3. It's 20 millimeters plus or minus 3. So you can be 18 or 23, 20, yeah. So that equates out to about 30 thou. So took 30 thou off, and that brings the pressure plate closer down to the surface, the mating surface, and it hopefully will disengage. We'll see. Like I said, factory spec's pretty wide. We're still within the factory spec. We're just at the minimum spec, we're at the very minimum of it. So we'll see how that goes. I know that that's not always the case with every clutch. Like I said, bringing that clamp down could affect where the lever point of the clutch. It could decrease, clamping force, but generally it increases clamping force a little bit. So hopefully that goes well. I'm also thinking about just going ahead and ordering a twin disc and just having it on the way, but I'm going to try this first because I don't want to spend $1,600 on a clutch. I'd rather pull the engine out again and replace the clutch than to just go ahead and spend $1,600 on a clutch. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this head on and keep plugging along.